Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted on this episode to be talking with someone who is known in the world of acting, writing, art, and that is Austin Janowsky. Austin, thank you for joining.
Thanks for asking, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, of course, of course. I'll mention a couple of titles here because that's sort of the pattern. I do that every single episode. I don't think there's been one that I haven't mentioned titles.
Mhm.
Divine Retribution being one of those, Spies Among Us, Stanley the Snowman, and the newest, latest, and greatest is A Killer and the Dead.
Yes,
Did I
sir.
get all
That's
those
right.
right?
Yeah,
Perfect,
you did.
perfect. All right. We'll certainly circle back around to talk about the most recent work, but I'm curious about what connected you with comics and storytelling, but then also this genre that I've really come to love a lot this summer. I've watched more horror films this summer than ever before for some reason. So
Yeah.
curious about the connection to horror.
Well, I started collecting comic books at 14. Before then, it was like Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy novels, that sort of thing. The art form itself just absolutely intrigued me. The way the story was told was just magical to me. It was the closest thing to making a movie without actually making a movie.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so I just fell into it. X-Men 205 was the first one. I was visiting my cousin in Florida. It was raining, nothing to do. So I started reading comic books. First time reading X-Men. I was just, this is amazing. And after X-Men 211, I'm like, oh my God, like I need more. Like, how do I, and they're like, oh, let's just go to the comic book store. I'm like, what? There's a store. We went to the store. It's just like, oh, it's just so amazing. So that started my love of comic books. Never thought I'd get into making comic books, but in high school I did two things. I was in theater. I was most theatrical, voted that by my peers, and I loved to draw. But I lived in upstate New York, and I looked like a heavy metal band member. So I didn't think acting was in the cards. But I met Bart Sears at a local event, and he liked my stuff, and then he passed it to Tom Lyle and then Tom Vincent and Graham Nolan. They all had nice things to say to me, and it's their fault I got started. So,
Some great
30
names there.
years, yeah, 30 years working in comic books, starting as an inker because back then that's how you finish a page. And I loved working with stories and artists. So to me, it's the best of both worlds. And then when I started actually writing and creating my own stuff, like Stand with the Snowman's an all age series I did for Scout. Divine Retribution is a fantasy series that's with Second Sight. But I drove to horror. I went to horror because it scared me so much as a kid. You know, I just
Hmm.
like nightmares. And then as I got older, I'm like, oh, okay, I got a new perspective on the horror and the different elements. And it's not just a shock scare. There's some really interesting things about it. So storytelling to me, it's really organic. There's a lot of elements that messes with a lot of primal emotions, right? So
Hmm.
to me, I wanted to tap into that. And then I also wanted to see, okay, so what can we tweak on the genre? What would be a little bit different on the genre? Um, so like with my zombie series, Zombies Were Human too, everyone has an origin story but zombies. And I said, well, if anyone needs a story about who they were before they became a zombie, it's them. So that's how I came up with that. And A Killer and the Dead, I mixed my two favorites, the slasher genre and the zombie genre.
Hmm.
Whereas you're in a slasher movie, but the world around you is a zombie apocalyptic event to add more stress to it. So that's the latest thing that we're doing.
A very interesting mashup, it sounds like. And there's been some adaptation, is that right? Is there also kind of film involvement? Am I right in that?
Yeah, yeah. So we started, it's funny. So I came up with the idea for a feature, and then I got the opportunity to do a proof of concept short.
Hmm.
Um, so we did like 9 minutes. It's basically just what a proof of concept is. It's like a sizzle reel back in the day, a little snapshot of what to expect the film to kind of be with the story elements and everything. But we filmed it in 2022, and there was this pesky thing called COVID.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we were very thankful we could film. We weren't able to do exactly what I wanted to do in the story, but we put it out there. We went through festivals. It's won some awards. The trailer itself got like 15,000 views in the first 2 months. Now I have a YouTube channel. I had like 6 people on it. I'm horrible. And I ended up getting like hundreds of new followers. It was just, it blew up. Anyway, so we went to the film circuit. It did very well. We're now moving into doing the feature for it. And I thought, what a better way to actually give the story that I wanted to do to begin with as a comic book adaptation, which is what we're doing here.
Yeah, yeah. I was one of those kids you were talking about, the beauty of the comic shop, which I'm totally with, but
Mm.
also comics and film. I would go see a comic book style movie and then read the adaptation or back and forth. So there's that really interesting relationship between comics and film that I love.
Oh, I agree. And the technology that's out nowadays is really, um, people are matching the movies in their head to what's on screen a whole lot closer than they did in the past. I joke
Yeah.
with all these young people complaining about the nuance, like, man, we were dreaming about this for years. Just be thankful that you have it, you know?
True enough. True enough. Now, of course, film and comics are both collaborative processes. So this is sort of the introduce the band sort of question. Anything that you'd like to say about the collaborators on the book?
On the book itself, oh, absolutely. So Eder Messi, and I'm saying Eder's name wrong. I apologize, Eder. I'm American. He's from Brazil. Known him for about 10 plus years. He's done work for Marvel and everything like that. And we've always said we'd love to work together if the opportunity ever arises. And lo and behold, he had time in his schedule and he was looking for a project. And I said, oh, me, please. Uh, but he's never done horror, so this is a good challenge for him. He told me he's very excited. And then Marcos, I found through Facebook of all things, and come to find out he lives in the same country and they know each other. So to me, that's absolutely perfect.
hmm
So we
hmm
got our team, and then Nikki Sherman, Nikki Powers. She's been my letterer since Stanley the Snowman. She lettered Stanley, the graphic novel. She worked on my zombie book, and now she's working on this. She is very underrated as a letter. She's really, really good at what she does. And I love the stuff. I love the elements she brings to the pages.
Nice, nice. Anything that you want to say about the collaboration on the film?
Oh, yeah. So we were lucky enough to work with mostly new people. I like collaborating with new people. I know people get comfortable and they like working with the same people.
hmm
Um, but to me, that's not quite fun. If you're creative, you want to share creativity and bounce new ideas off new people. So we had Graham Zielinski was my DP, just met him for the first time. Great eye, great camera. Loved his ideas for lighting and everything like that. Cookie Reyes was my scriptie. I've known Cookie for a while, never worked with her. She is meticulous in what she does. And we had really good crew, a lot of good special effects. Carl Uber was running the special effects, the blood and everything. And Carl's done a lot of horror stuff over the years. He does a lot of prosthetics. For actors, all brand new people. So Johnny Shirley was perfect for my killer. I didn't want a prototypical killer, like this tall sort of thing. I wanted
hmm
something different. Johnny is just this big, imposing, just this guy with the belly and everything like that. He used to be well, he's a professional wrestler. He did one tier below WWE. Like he worked
hmm
with all them and everything. And he got
Nice.
into acting. He's actually a comedian more than anything. And I said, dude, you are perfect. Like 6'4", you're just an imposing figure. You're not exactly what people would expect in a killer. That's what I want. And he was fantastic. He was up for pretty much anything, any new stunts, which was a good help.
hmm
Uh, and then Mikhail, and then Miss Lawton, the Miss Wounded Bird, I called her. They were just two new actors, and they jumped in both feet first. They've done horror before, so it was all new for them also. So the whole thing was just a lot of fun. And David Yoakum is the manager for the motor coach place that we filmed at. And I've known Dave for years. So I was looking for a location. She's like, well, actually, we have this big space, and I'd love to have you in there. I'm like, there's going to be a lot of blood. He's like, I love okay, so you're a horror fan, rock on. So yeah, it just all just kind of came together. So it was fantastic.
Nice, nice. Well, I have one more official question, but by all means, hit anything that we might have missed, of course. And I always ask where readers, viewers can find out more, see you next, learn more about your work, support the work, and things of that nature online, in person, and otherwise.
Sure. For general knowledge, just take my name and Google it. For social media stuff, I'm on the old people Facebook. I'm on the new cooler stuff, Instagram. I don't do TikTok because I don't understand it because I'm old. So there's that. For supporting my work, you can get copies of Stanley through the Scout, their store or whatever that they do. It's the single issue sold out. I think they have some second printings of it and the graphic paperback. The other ones you can just contact me if you'd like to, or go to the comic book stores. I'm sure they have them. And for Killer and the Dead, it's on Kickstarter right now. We have reached our minimum funding goal, which is fantastic.
Awesome,
We
awesome.
are on our way to our first stretch goal, which is a really cool bookmark with the cover art by Francisco Tomaselli. He's a cover artist for Marvel, done Spider-Man, X-Men stuff. And then if we go to 5,000, you guys are going to get a signed, really cool poster from Bad Monkey, because that's my first co-star role that I booked in 2022,
Uh-huh.
which I'm now celebrating because it's coming out on the 15th, this Wednesday. First two episodes are dropping. And my first episode, I think, is going to be August the 28th. So yeah, take a look because the rewards, there's stuff for comic book people, there's stuff for film people. You can get the actual film itself, something in between. And yeah, there you go. So
Awesome, awesome. When is the Kickstarter over?
you have 17 days left. So I think
Okay.
it's August the 29th. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, Austin, I'm always glad to have you to talk about film, comics, horror, or any other new directions. And many, many thanks for the conversation.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for listening, guys.